теперь мой дом, ты уж меня прости. Млеет в тумане грусть, я у нее в плену, но я к тебе вернусь, если не утону. Я пытаюсь с собой бороться, и однажды я перестану ненавидеть тебя и солнце, ненавидеть и строить планы на ближайшие 20 с лишним, на короткие промежутки. Ты прости, очень глупо вышло, ты прости, это все лишь шутки.
Сотый раз отвергая все то, от чего себя ограждал. Я надеюсь, в этот раз будет лучше. Я так давно об этом мечтал. Мы будем сидеть на фоне заката. Я тебя обниму, скажу, смотри, как пиздато. И ничего не будет, кроме нас с тобой. И сегодня мы верим, что так будет вечно. Ты кладешь свою голову на мои плечи, я забываю обо всем. Я надеюсь, что все будет так, не так, как раньше. Я боюсь неизведанного и жду любви дальше. Жду любви, жду любви, жду любви дальше. Жду любви, жду любви, жду любви дальше.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Good evening, friends. It's time once again for another episode of This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, and we are joined on this most joyous occasion with one of the OGs of the show, the man himself, Nathan Parada, a.k.a. Token on the page, our former meme master. How you doing tonight, sir? Ben,
What?
get in here. Ben, get in here.
What is up, my
Made it.
guys?
Getting the band back together.
Yeah,
Yes,
right?
For people on Rumble that don't know, Nathan used to run our Instagram, did a lot on Facebook. You did stuff on X with our first account that got kicked off, right?
Yep. Yes,
So,
I did. I am a veteran of the meme wars. I have all the I've been banned from just about every social media platform there is.
So
He's
for those
got
of you that follow us for a long time, you probably know Nathan's work. I still see your memes pop up randomly around the internet, which says a lot.
Oh no, they some of them have stood the test of time, so it's an honor to see them pop up every now and then out in the wild.
It is. We do have a few that pop up every once in a while, and just kind of off topic. A friend of the show, Ed Black, his meme that he made a Harris 2024 bumper sticker where the H in Harris is a lowercase h that's made out of a standing man and a woman on her knees, and he got the no strike for that on I Survived the Kali Yuga, but it's been popping up in the wild a lot, so much so that Phoenix Ammunition, the shit posters in chief over there on Facebook and Twitter, actually put it on packaging, and that is very, very exciting for our friend Ed.
I guess he needs to market that.
I bet somebody already has. He
Beat
said
him to it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I've seen that floating around, and yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
You never know what's going to take off. I mean, you'll make a meme and you're like, oh, this shit's fire. Everybody's going to love it. Nothing. And you make some dumb crap that took you about 5 seconds and it spreads all over the internet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I just sent it to the group chat if you want to pull it up, the Phoenix Ammunition post.
Sure. So we had Nathan on. Nathan, you said you wanted to come on the show because there was so much shit going on.
Well,
that
we've
you
had
to come out of your hole.
we had a historic month, didn't we? We had a certain someone get his ear shot off. We had this was following a disastrous debate, and then old man Joe just decides he's had enough and he drops out. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
I'm gonna solo this Phoenix just for a second so people can see. There's the H.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I sent that to Ed, and he's like, "Holy shit, what timeline are we living in right now?"
I'm not convinced it's the best one at this point. I mean,
yeah, they had to shoot that damn gorilla back in 2016. Yes. So getting the show off to a little bit of a lighthearted start, because with everything in the everything else in the world going on right now, it's like, whew, holy shit.
yeah, who would have guessed that, Hulk Hogan would show up at the RNC, rip off his shirt, and I mean, it's just, I've heard people from other countries commenting that America is like a hit TV show right now and they can't stop watching.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, isn't it?
You should try living it, guys.
Like,
all these Europeans.
It's fun here. There's never a dull moment, and that's the thing. Best watched TV show in the world. Everyone's looking at America. Everyone's shaking their heads and just going, "What are those fuckers doing?" Like, we're just living our best lives, guys. I mean, sorry we don't have freaking Muslim rape gangs running around in our country.
Not yet.
Yet.
They're coming.
Yeah.
Maybe in Michigan.
Undoubtedly.
Michigan.
But yeah, it's I've seen a lot of comparisons to Idiocracy, especially President Camacho.
I mean, fair. To be perfectly honest, that's fair. It kind of reminded me of that too.
I mean, our inner cities are dumps that are falling apart, and nobody seems able or willing to fix them back up again. We're this close, I think, to watering our crops with Brawndo. We haven't quite slipped that far enough. There's enough institutional knowledge in the Midwest here that we're not quite about to spray electrolyte sports drink on our crops.
Well, I mean, they got a lot of farms out in California. I mean, if that starts to happen, it's going to be out there.
We're only one harebrained study away where the experts tell them that because of climate change or something, it's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
Yeah, they'll come up with some formula for new water that won't evaporate or something. I don't know, and they'll spray it all over the crops, and they'll die, and then they'll all be like, "Oh, well, we're doing it for the environment, so it's all good, right?"
Yeah. Nathan and I were talking before the show a little bit about the whole Harris thing, and dead internet. It seems like the bots on the internet, I've seen that meme posted of the NPC is like riding with Biden. They take out the chip and they put in drop Biden. I mean, I
made that one.
Yeah. And the bots are now on, Harris is amazing.
Yeah.
Even though nobody in the Democrat Party for the last 8 years has said anything nice about Harris.
Well, we're seeing something right now that I expected us to see after the Democrat National Convention when they pick whoever their new nominee is, and I'm still, things are looking a little bit bleak for my prediction, but I'm still leaning for Big Mike Obama to be swooped in at the last minute. But we have essentially a 1984 style rewriting and memory holing of everything from Kamala Harris's career up until this point, including her appointment as border czar. Now we've got outlets like Axios and Politico Playbook are going back and trying to delete previous articles where they were talking about her being appointed to be the border czar, and you have every talking head on left-wing media are coming out. Oh, she was never appointed the border czar. She was just kind of told that she was going to look for the underlying causes of the immigration crisis. It's like, no, no, that's not true. And you people are shameless bullshit artists and you should be flogged in the street. We are watching a memory holing and a gaslighting campaign to tell Americans not to believe their own memories and their own lying eyes about what's happened over the past 3 3/4 of a year. And I don't think it's going to work. I think that at the convention, they are going to realize that no matter how much they push, they have burned all of their credibility on the Joe Biden election, on the COVID nonsense, and they cannot, in any way, shape, or form, move the needle of public perception to make people believe that Kamala Harris is this universally loved entity that they should vote for to be the next president of the United States. So they're going to try to swoop in a person like Michelle Obama, who has nothing in her political repertoire that you can point to, positive or negative, and then you are going to see a North Korean style cult of personality constructed around her in order to make her appear to be a person that she obviously is not, in order to push the public into voting for her or accepting a gigantic middle of the night vote dump like they did in 2020 to make her the next president.
Well, like the only person that could possibly work for is Michelle Obama. It has to be a black woman, right? At this point, they've sunk so much political capital into Kamala Harris. I mean, you've seen it. The second Joe Biden dropped out, the Joe Biden ads on YouTube turned into Kamala Harris ads on YouTube. I've seen dozens of them at this point. And there is no way that they can swap her out for anyone other than a black woman. There is too much riding on the intersectional vote at this point for Democrats. It can't be a Gavin Newsom, right? It can't be another white guy. It has to be, if they swapped her out for anyone other than a black woman, it would be disaster. You'd probably have riots on the floor of the DNC. People would be so confused and angry about what's going on. Michelle Obama can make sense, but it's a little late for that now, isn't it? They would have to do it under cover of night and catch everybody by surprise last second to make that happen. I mean, do they think they have enough political capital at this point to pull that stunt off after hiding Joe Biden, trying to hide Joe Biden's decline? I mean, think about it. They've been spending the last 4 years gaslighting all of us about Joe Biden's failing health. Kamala Harris, specifically, think about this. She had to know. We all knew, really, but they were all pretending. And she was one of the main people leading this. That, oh, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him, right? They sunk so much political capital into Joe Biden. And when he was forced to leave the race, they switched that over to Kamala. And just to pull the rug out of their voters again, I mean, unless they just decide to completely give up on this race, which is possible, then I don't know.
See that there's a couple of moving parts here as far as that goes. Is one, there is a dark horse candidate that nobody is paying attention to except for one of the guys that's in the group chat, or not the group chat, but in our chat, and that's Simon from Florida. He's our regular international news correspondent, and that's Lloyd Austin. And he is surmising that Lloyd Austin is going to be put forth at the Democratic National Convention. He's a black man with 40 years of military experience. He's the Secretary of Defense. He has the military industrial complex in his pocket with the big money, and we're simultaneously fighting basically 2.5 wars overseas that could go hot any day with the push of a button, and he could use that military experience as sort of the catalyst to be like, I have the experience to handle what we've got going on in the world today. You should definitely make me your president. That's one possibility. The other possibility is what you just mentioned. They might just see this one, hey, we're going to take the L on this one, and we're going to devote all of our resources and time into just fucking up President Trump's next administration as much as we can from the inside.
Well, Lloyd Austin isn't young. I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, this is kind of, this election or next is kind of his chance. And he doesn't seem like the type of guy who doesn't have political ambitions. So I can't believe he would let this slide by. I mean, this is a perfect chance for him to get in there.
Well, maybe, but at this point, I don't know if Trump is beatable. I mean, this Trump seems to be invincible at this point. I mean, just look at this man's political career. This all started back in what was it, in Obama's second term when he was accusing him of being born in Kenya. And he was offering to host a Republican primary debate. All the candidates said they wouldn't do it. 4 years later, comes out of nowhere, bitch slaps the entire Republican field, pulls off the most unimaginable upset in presidential history, hires a bunch of rhinos to run his administration. Big mistake. Didn't get anywhere near as much done as he thought. Loses the presidency 4 years later in the most contentious election since the Civil War, gets prosecuted, right? Gets convicted, runs for president again, bitch slaps Joe Biden in the debate, then gets shot. I mean, at this point, to finish the story, he has to win. My God, this is like the most, like 100 years from now, they're going to be calling this the Trump era. These 12 years of Trump, right? It's just the most bizarre time period in American history.
Yeah, it's not the most violent because the Civil War was obviously more violent. The 1960s had a lot more political terrorism than we've got going on right now. It's bizarre. This is a bizarre era of America. It's weird. It's if you put this script in front of a Hollywood producer, they'd laugh you out of the room and be like, nobody would believe this shit. Get out. This is too weird to suspend disbelief to make into a movie. And yet here we are living it. Whoever's running the simulation right now is probably having a lot of fun shaking this ant farm up.
And point is, if any Democrat has legitimate political aspirations, do they really want to shoot their shot in this election? Like Kamala, I don't think any Democrats of any worth give a shit if Kamala is thrown out to the wolves and just falls on her face. They don't like her. Voters don't like her. If they need to pick someone to just take the bullet, why not Kamala? Right? And I think that's why a lot of these Democrats aren't jumping to there's like Gavin Newsom. People are talking about him. I mean, he probably wants to be president, but he's not going to jump into this race.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that vice presidency spot is a political dead end. And I was trying to think, how many vice presidents have pulled it off in recent memory?
I think the last one was George Bush. Yeah.
Yeah. And they always run. And they never, I don't know, it's like a curse or people just don't like the second best, because
Al Gore ran and he lost. Cheney never ran. Joe Biden won and then dropped out because he's old and senile. And who knows if he actually
he didn't win coming off the
but he still had that former VP political capital.
Joe Biden's kind of an outlier because usually they run right after.
Right. And really that's when
he did run. He did run right after and he lost to Hillary Clinton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Obama endorsed Hillary.
Yeah. Which goes to show just what a farce the Obama administration was. It's apparently the Obamas and Joe Biden hate each other, and they were relatively friendly with Kamala Harris until she accepted the VP slot under Joe Biden, and now the Obamas are kind of cold towards Kamala, which is why they
Obama didn't endorse her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Schumer hasn't either, I believe.
Apparently, he's kind of angry that Joe Biden endorsed her. But I mean, it's the funniest thing. This election cycle is just the most bizarre thing because you have all these Democrats and their number one talking point is we need to preserve democracy. Democracy needs to be protected from Donald Trump. Meanwhile, they don't have a real primary in their own party. We should have, because we should have all seen Joe Biden on a debate stage months ago.
Yep.
But they didn't do that, right? They kept RFK out of any debates. They practically kicked him out of the party. Didn't have any real primaries. So Joe Biden gets it by default. Okay, fine. That's how it goes from most incumbents.
Yeah.
But then he has a debate, like way earlier than they ever have debates.
Mhm.
And the dude nearly has a stroke on national TV. The funniest shit you've ever seen in any debate ever. And then a month later, he just drops out of the race. And now Kamala Harris, a woman who didn't get a single vote in 2020's primary. No one voted for this woman. Her support was so low, she dropped out before the very first state.
Yep.
Now she, practically by default, is going to get the nomination. Probably. Right? Unless something crazy happens, it's going to be Kamala Harris. So that
Well,
these
I'd like to
defenders of
see what the
democracy-
I'd like to see what the Democrats would come up with in an open convention. Let's see what
Yeah.
your best product is and the future of your party. This is your opportunity to throw it out there.
You know who should be angry right now? Anyone that didn't think Bernie Sanders was a pussy. If he had any balls whatsoever, he would throw his hat in the ring right the fuck now. That's what
But
he would
he's-
do.
But he's an independent.
He
after
can be
he-
a Democrat. He can be a
Well, yeah.
Democrat.
I think it's a
He
little
could
late
change,
in the
yeah.
game.
I don't
think it's a
know
little
how
late
that
for that.
It
Yeah.
depends on what their bylaws are, but yeah,
Yeah. It's
Bernie-
it's a possibility.
Bernie is a
Um,
sellout and a pussy, though.
He
but
is.
I think that at the end of it, it might still be Kamala, and they might just expect the party to get in line in the same way that the Bernie Bros fell in line behind Hillary Clinton in 2016. You know, they were very passionate about Bernie Sanders, and they saw, and you could go back and all of the left wing talking heads that do stuff like what we're doing right now, talking about how unfair it was for Bernie Sanders, for the super delegates to choose Hillary Clinton over him. And at the end of the convention, he bowed down, he kissed the ring, and then, to his credit, he left the party, but he endorsed Hillary Clinton, and all of the people that were expecting him to cinch the Democrat nomination just vote blue no matter who.
Mhm.
Sold out any dignity that they had left to defeat Orange Hitler.
Yeah, and the squad has done the same exact thing, right? Because they were all coming out to endorse Joe Biden. And now that he's gone, a lot of them have come out and endorsed Kamala.
Well, AOC, to her credit, kind of did it in a way that made it seem like she had a gun to her head, and she wanted everybody to know that she had a gun to her head. Like she came out, and I can't remember the exact wording of. She did like a 1 hour live stream on Instagram where she was like, "Yeah, the maneuvering inside of the party is going to put Kamala Harris at the front, and we need to get behind her because this is very unprecedented." And speaking of unprecedented, I wanted to get you guys, because you guys might know this more than me about what the internal bylaws are, but a lot of people are saying that there's a $198 million war chest that exists that only can be accessed by Kamala Harris because Joe Biden was the primary winner. Because they did hold, they held a primary, but he's the incumbent and he wins the primary. And since he has declined the nomination, being the incumbent, his vice president stepping up is the only one that can access that war chest. My question is do the same rules apply if rather than declining the nomination, Joe Biden would pass away between now and the Democratic National
I heard somebody
Convention?
talking about this, and it is the same deal because it's still the same ticket. It'd still be the same ticket at that point.
Okay.
It's essentially the same thing as far as that's concerned.
Right, because there's a lot of speculation going on that part of the reason the Joe Biden dropout came out of left field, and it seems like a lot of his staff had no knowledge of it, and a lot of his family is acting kind of cagey, and it's because he had some type of an episode, and he does not have long to live. He was
he's got Parkinson's, so you're familiar with Michael J. Fox.
Right.
I mean, that flares up. So I think he had a severe Parkinson's flare up, and they had to hide him ASAP. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
did you? I'm sorry.
Go
Go ahead. Well, did you see what's her face? The press secretary. What's her face?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah,
KJP?
Jen Blackie. That's her name.
Holy cow.
But no. She came out and she told everybody in a press conference that Biden didn't drop out for health reasons. Somebody in the press conference straight up asked her, "Hey, if Joe Biden is incapable of running for office, how can he be capable of holding office until January?"
Yeah.
And she's like, he didn't drop out for health reasons. I'm like, bullshit. The fuck are you talking about? He didn't drop out for health reasons? Why are you still lying to us? Like, we all know it's a lie. We all see it. The gaslighting doesn't work anymore. But you still feel the need to lie? Why can't you just come out and say it? Yeah, he's old, but he's not going to drop out. He's not going to resign because he doesn't want to.
If they're throwing in with Harris, they need to 25th Amendment Biden and gets Harris in there to show us that she's not a complete dumbass.
But see, that's the problem. She is, though.
That's her only option with Harris, because everybody thinks she's a dumbass. But if they get her in there, and who knows, maybe she's an idiot savant, and when she gets in there,
in there, and Russia, Ukraine immediately make peace. Just coincidentally,
peace.
Nothing she did, but she's
interest
there
rates go down.
Good.
Well, I mean, stranger things have happened. She's essentially fallen up the stairs to get to where she's at right now. She's where she's at by complete accident. But this actually, if you want to kind of war game it out here, this might be part of the deal. We will either 25th Amendment or Joe Biden will die, and you will be the first Black, Indian, woman of color, fucking whatever descriptor you want to add, first woman of color president, with the asterisk up there, of course, because whatever. But you'll be the first one, and you'll ride this term out. And when it comes time for us to put somebody else in at the DNC, you're not going to make a fuss, because you are going to be the historical first woman of color president that we've ever had, and that'll be the deal. And maybe we'll throw you another bone like the governorship of California or a seat on the Supreme Court when we inevitably kill Clarence Thomas if we get the Democrat in office next time, because mark my fucking words, that's what's coming next.
Well, and I say local mirrors national politics, and maybe it's the same way at the lower levels. People resign all the time, and then the governor appoints somebody into that spot. And then when it comes election time, people are like, "Oh well, they're already in there. They're not screwing up too bad."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that same effect will work at the national level. Get Joe out of there, put Kamala in. People are like, "Well, she's not fucking up too bad for the last 4 months. Let's just keep her in there."
Yeah, but Kamala seems like she really wants the job, though. Right. So, I mean, they could put that offer in front of her for if that's what they want to do. But if she kicks up a fuss and says, "Fuck no, I'm going to run," then what are they going to do?
It's risky. It is
right.
Risky.
Mm-hmm.
If Kamala Harris comes out and gives one of her stupid speeches and just says, "Oh, the white elites are trying to keep a black woman down," then what are they going to do at that point? Right? That's a really risky move. I mean, if I was them, I'd just be like, okay, give it to her. Let her do her best. If she loses, whatever. We didn't really believe all this, democracy is going to end thing anyway. Yeah. We'll just regroup and run someone better in 28.
Yeah. See, but if they do something like that, if they concede the point that Kamala gave it her best and we'll try again next time, guys, then they would have to concede the point that the entire democracy will end and we're going to be living in an autocratic, theocratic handmaid's tale if Donald Trump becomes president was just a line of bullshit to scare them into submission.
Well, that's what they did last time.
Yeah, that's
I
why I
mean-
don't understand they're using it again. I mean, he's already been in there once. He
Yeah.
didn't do it. What?
But this time it's
Right?
super serious, you guys.
That's what's so amazing about it. It's like, oh, Donald Trump's gonna deport every Mexican, throw the gays in concentration camps, make the women handmaids. Like, dude, he was president for 4 years. He didn't do any of that. So now he's gonna do it. It's incredible.
Oh, but it's a second term. He's got nothing to lose. It's like if he's such an autocratic dictator that he's gonna like throw gay people in camp and deport everybody with a skin tone lighter than an eggshell or darker than an eggshell, then he's not going to be worried about his lame duck second term. He's just
He's just gonna do the thing.
he's just going to do the thing. So don't.
Like if he didn't do the thing when he had the opportunity to do it, you probably shouldn't be too worried. But, I mean, they don't actually believe this. That's the thing. They don't believe that. If they'll say it to rally up their voters,
and
but
they
if
will
they-
believe it.
if they lose, then their supporters will go out and riot, and they can make political hay about that. Like, remember when they were burning down that church in DC and Trump sent in the police to tear gas them and chase them off, and they called him a freaking Hitler for that? Yeah, they'll just do the same thing. You know, all their people will go out and riot. Trump will send in the police, and they were like, "Oh no, he's tear gassing the rioters. Look at these poor rioters being tear gassed." And that's what they'll do for another 4 years.
It looks like we're back on YouTube. Raptor over here said, Nathan, you don't have to sell it anymore. I'm already voting for him.
You know, I drove around in KC once with this hat on, and a few people flipped me the bird. So I'm like, do they think this is a "Make America Great Again" hat? Is that what they're doing? Or they just really hate Nebraska and KC? I don't know.
Cut the N-word on it.
That's what it is.
N4. But yeah, we'll see how that shake. I want to touch on. Have you been watching Bongino on the whole shooter thing, Hobbs?
Every day, because he's the one I think is probably the best position to give a no bullshit. Yeah.
Well, I missed a couple. What came of the thing where they had a phone that was pinging at the shooter's house that also happened to be pinging at FBI offices?
We still don't know. And he still doesn't know, but that's actually one of the, he's like a no bullshit, but also kind of like
and it's right up his alley. I mean, for people who don't know, he was in the Secret Service.
Yeah. But this, the cell phone that pinged at this guy's house and also pinged at an FBI field office in Washington, D.C. in 2023, not recently, a year and a half ago. This is the sort of thing that I would not expect him to like. He would mention it, but he'd be like, it's one of those things. It's kind of conspiracy wonkish.
Is he finally
whatever.
jumping on the PSYOP train for weaponizing young males?
He's on that though. He's like this pinging with the FBI office and this kid. He's like, I'm not going to let this one go. This is a little bit weird, but we don't have any further details other than the fact that it actually happened. And apparently it's not bullshit.
Well, don't worry. The FBI is investigating it. So
I mean, Occam's razor here. What would be? I can't even think of what the least flammable reason would be for that to happen.
I mean, unless it was like an FBI agent at the field office in Washington D.C. has family in the area, and he was just like in that neighborhood. That is plausible.
Well, did you see that the shooter was flying a drone around the area prior to the shooting? Like, here's the thing. Like, I have one of those drones and that you can buy at the store. They can make it so that those drones cannot fly, right? Yes. They can set up a no-fly zone. And
it's one click with a mouse.
Right. And the Secret Service flies drones around the White House all the time. So keep eye on people.
The Secret Service wasn't flying a drone at this rally, which people are like what?
Apparently,
Like,
they didn't set up a no-fly drone zone either.
yeah, these drones, you're right. They come preloaded with software that the FAA can set up a dome, and like the drone will, if it enters the dome, it will exit the dome and land itself.
And you
Right.
get a letter in the mail, automated.
Yes.
You flew in the no-no zone.
It can't fly near an airport, a military base, any kind of, secret area. It's just not possible unless you build your own.
That's the speculation that people have going on, that this kid was some type of an electronics whiz because he has no online footprint, allegedly. Now, a 20-year-old kid with the muscle mass of a house cat who looks like his two primary food groups are Doritos and Mountain Dew, not having an online presence, to me screams bullshit. I think he has an online presence. I just think that he was incredibly intelligent and knew how to hide it.
It's possible. It's very possible. Right. And the fact that he was in a BlackRock commercial and BlackRock shorted a Donald Trump company is like here's the thing. I tend to not like a lot of conspiracy theories, but at this point, for the last 4 years, they're not even conspiracy theories anymore. Like remember back in 2020 where they were calling the Wuhan lab leak theory a conspiracy theory? Like, guys, you can't just call every logical explanation a conspiracy theory. Like, some things just make too much sense, right? And the idea that this was, we just fucked up. We just fucked up in all these ways is like, really? Did you, though? And the fact that supposedly they were on a heightened alert because there was intelligence that Iran might try to kill Trump. Like, was this? This is a hilarious scenario that I've been thinking of. What if they're like, all right, Iran's going to try to kill him and we're just going to let it happen. And then this 20-year-old dude shows up and they're expecting this Muslim terrorist. They're like, who the fuck is that guy? Is
like,
that the guy Iran sent?
Yeah, let's just watch and see what happens.
That's
And
not
then you
Habibi.
miss-
What's going
Like, where's Ahmed? Ahmed, where are you?
No, that's
They get on the phone with Iranian intelligence. Like, what the fuck was that? You were supposed to send Ahmed.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. You know, this is one of those things where the guest that we had last week, we started to kind of talk about it, and then we went over to the Trump speech at the
And it
RNC.
killed the show.
But yeah, just absolutely killed the show because Trump was not his normal bombastic self. But we kind of started getting into it, and it's like when you have a conspiracy to commit an assassination and you have an assassin, there's a paper trail. You know, we hired the guy, or we trained the guy, or we, we have some type of an intel asset that we've sheep dipped to have, 2 or 3 factors of separation, but there's still a trail there. So there's one thing to have a conspiracy to commit an assassination. There's also the not the opportunity, but the possibility that this was malicious incompetence, that Trump has such a high danger profile that they knew that if they cut a corner here, cut a corner there, maybe took a couple of assets away and assigned them to Jill Biden's thing that she was doing that same day, we leave a roof unsecured, we just have these little tiny snippets of security, breachable places here and there, somebody will eventually shoot their shot and succeed. And there's no paper trail then. It just looks like gross incompetence. And then everybody can get away scot-free, maybe get a slap on the wrist, maybe have to resign in shame like Kim Cheadle, but you know that she's going to be a security consultant on CNN any day now.
She'll get her job at Pepsi back.
guarding Fritos,
Yeah.
guarding Doritos?
That was the line.
You couldn't guard Cheeto Hitler, but how about just regular Cheetos? But no, I that's what I think to me is probably the most plausible explanation, because incompetence by itself in a vacuum to me does not seem logical for an organization like the Secret Service, because up until this point their record is sterling. It's beyond reproach, and to have this cascading failure of fuck ups that they did on the 13th is it's unimaginable. But if there was a conspiracy amongst the higher ups to, you know, deny an asset here, cut a corner there, maybe redact a piece of information from the advanced team, or make certain personnel decisions that would leave a security breach open for an opportunist like this kid to get up and do whatever it is, then yeah, there's you not only do you have the plausible deniability of, okay, it was just an incompetent fuck up, but then you also don't have a paper trail of, yes, we hired or trained this assassin to do this thing and he missed. So that's what I think.
And you know, I'm not going to rule out the fuck up idea completely. I mean, look at how World War I kicked off with Gavril Princip. I mean, that was just a complete chain of absolute fuck ups. And he stopped for a sandwich and was able to. I mean, what if this kid had stopped for a sandwich and delayed him a minute, and the winds were a little more, and bam, nails Trump in the head because there's not a cross breeze.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, but that was a different time, though, right? We didn't have. I don't think Austria-Hungary had a secret service just of burly dudes that were supposed to jump on.
He did actually. He had guards in the vehicle with him. Some of them got injured in the first. Well, you're a World War I nerd, so I mean, they got injured in the first attack.
Yeah, and he was going to the hospital to visit the people who were injured there. His driver went into an alley, had to back up, and boom, shot in the face. And next thing you know, millions of people are dead.
I mean, we talk about the weirdest timeline, and maybe we're in the one timeline where Trump doesn't get his head blown off and the boob kicks off.
Oh my goodness! I shudder to think of what might have happened if he'd actually. Because it's not just that he would have been shot. He would have been shot on live TV, right? We would have seen his head explode, right? And you've seen all these leftists in our timeline talking about, oh, man, I wish you would have hit him. I mean, if he'd actually been killed and you have all these left-wing people out in the
celebrating,
streets dancing, celebrating, who's to say that some right-winger isn't going to take out his gun and just shoot up a bunch of them? And that just leads to a cascading event where now everybody's shooting at everybody because of this one event.
And that right there, the day after the event took place, you saw a lot of these left-wing media people calling for, okay, let's simmer down the political rhetoric, and let's not take things too far. And I saw a lot of right-wing media people being like, oh, now we're going to call for unity, now we're going to call for a simmering of the political discourse, and they're doing that now because they realized that it was their rhetoric that got us to this point. It's like, no, it's not. The left-wing media, I mean, yes, they knew that what they are saying is what got us to this point, and they wish it would have gone further. In their heart of hearts, I truly believe that most people on CNN and MSNBC do truly hope that Donald Trump had been shot and killed that day. The reason that they're calling for a cooling of the political discourse is because they know
they're scared.
Exactly. They're scared. They are scared shitless. They are shitting their pants because they know that when it was just Proud Boys and Antifa LARPing as some type of like cyberpunk gangs of New York and beating the shit out of each other in the streets with melee weapons, that was, it was bad, but it was okay because it's not going to escalate any further than that. But now that somebody's pulled a trigger, somebody's fired a bullet, now that the violence has escalated to the point where guns might be involved, they realize that, oh shit, the right wing is way better at this than we are. And there's more of them too. And if we're really going to escalate to the point where guns are involved, we are up shit's creek and we are all dead. And like I said with Matt Baker last week, I said it's not going to be January 6th. It's going to be, I said Appomattox. I meant Antietam. That's the level of
Well,
political
Appomattox is where he
violence.
got his ass kicked and surrendered. So I mean, I thought that's what you were going for.
No, well, in a way, kind of. And that was the last battle of the Civil War. I meant Antietam. I got my A names mixed up. Antietam was the battle of the Civil War that was called the bloodiest day because over 10,000 men died in a single day. 10,000 Americans killing Americans. That's the level of political violence that would happen if the violence escalated to the point where guns were involved. The only difference is that at Antietam it was kind of a level playing field for all sides involved. If the right wing escalated to be the people that the left wing insists that we are, it would be a slaughterhouse, and they know it. They talk a good game, but they know that it would be awful for them.
And this is why whenever people are just calling regular run-of-the-mill Republicans or conservatives or even libertarians fascists, just look them in the face and say, if everyone you call a fascist actually was a fascist, you wouldn't be here. If this was actually true, this would be a fascist country right now. You would be in a concentration camp. There would be a dictator. There would be no constitution. Be careful about this rhetoric that you use, right? Because you're right. The right is way better armed than the left. The only thing that could save the left in a situation like that is if the military sided with them. And it all makes sense when you think about what they've been doing to the military these last 4 years, right?
Yeah.
But have they neutered? But here's the thing, like all these attempts to make the military more left wing is neutering the military at the same time. Like the people that you would normally rely on to join the military. I mean, just remember when you were in, who was usually in the military?
Farm boys.
Yeah, young, patriotic, muscular men. Right? That's who you would get into the military. Guys who want to challenge, who want to see the world, who are fit, right? Who are patriotic. That's the kind of guy that joins the military. And they're not joining the military anymore. Right. So if you're going to rely but they still exist. They still like their guns, right? They're still physically fit. They're still out there. They're just not in your military anymore. So if you're going to rely on who's left in the military to put them down, the people who would otherwise be your recruits, is that going to work out for you very well? I have my doubts. So yeah, you're right. They're fucking scared shitless that they may have pushed things too far. Because if Trump had actually died on that stage, I don't know if we'd have a civil war, but we'd have unrest that makes 2020 look like nothing.
Yeah. You'd have the larger cities where the sort of Democrat stranglehold is more or less complete. They would probably be celebrating with pockets of political violence. You'd have smaller outlying areas would probably be the most violent because there's not everything is as politically homogenous in the suburbs and the outlying areas. And then you'd have places like, where we live, where me and Ben live, kind of out in the rural areas, would also see not very much violence because, again, it's politically homogenous out here. Then you'd probably end up seeing a boycott or not a boycott, but an embargo of supplies flowing to the cities because everything that they rely on to live, like food and clean water and all of their consumer goods, comes from not cities. Cities are just people hives. They get everything they need from outside the city. And you'd start seeing politically motivated embargoes of consumer goods to the cities until they were essentially starved into submission. Well, and it would be a civil war, but it would be more of a cold civil war.
I think given time, the question of what would have happened had Trump died is going to be one of those alternate history questions that people ponder for a very long time.
Yeah,
It
because he didn't
already
even
is.
have a vice president selected at that time.
Right.
Point. I mean,
What would the election have been like? Could they even have one under those circumstances? I mean, who's going to replace Trump?
because when was the
Who else is
RNC was
there?
what a week later or days later?
Yeah.
Well,
It
there
would have been
was
absolute chaos.
there was rumors that he was going to announce JD Vance as his running mate at that rally,
Hmm.
but there was some type of a scheduling conflict that JD couldn't make it. And he held that rally there because it's like right there on the border with Ohio, where JD Vance is from, and it was that sort of like Rust Belt,
Right.
small town appeal that he was going to go for at that rally, but JD Vance couldn't make it, so he held it off until the RNC. Would anybody believe if he got shot in the head and killed, and JD Vance was like, "Oh yeah, hey, I was his running mate"? Would be like, "Were you? Got anything to back that up?" I don't know.
Yeah, but there's not another Republican who is like the heir apparent to Trump, right? I mean, now you can say maybe JD Vance, but he hasn't proven himself to fill that role, right? It's not like if Donald Trump were to not run, it'd be like, oh well, JD Vance, that's the next Trump, right? There's not another person in the Republican Party to fill that role. So if Trump was gone, right, there's no time for a primary. The convention is days away. Like nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's happened. You can't pick a candidate under those circumstances. And then you got, imagine what the streets outside the RNC are going to look like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just the insanity of like not just the event, but the timing of the event. Days away from the nomination. It's like, yeah, I shudder to think what might have happened. And
there was
leftists who think, oh man, I'm so upset he missed. You're idiots. You're fucking idiots. You might be dead right now if he didn't miss.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've seen some armchair warriors talking about how oh, I could have made that shot in my sleep. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's one thing to set up a 9-inch steel plate, which is about the size of a human head, at 150 yards, and then go back to your shooting bench and lay down and shoot it. It's an entirely different thing and if I'm getting my timeline right here, it's an entirely different thing to drive to an event with the knowledge that you are going to try to assassinate a political leader. Okay, that's item one. That's in your brain. So your anxiety is already spiked because you're about to do this thing. Okay, so you're driving there with the intent to assassinate a political leader. You park your car a mile away. You get on a bicycle. You bike a mile to the area. You mill around for about 25 or 30 minutes until you notice that the cops are kind of looking at you squirrely. So you go and you hide from them, and you climb up on top of a building. You shimmy your way across a hot tin roof in the middle of July, and you aim down an iron sight. I'm hearing conflicting reports that it was either an iron-sighted rifle or a red dot-sighted rifle. Either way, this was a DPMS AR-15 with iron sights or a red dot. This is like budget level shit, right? So you shimmy across a hot roof with your 16-inch barrel DPMS AR with iron sights or a red dot. You get startled by a cop. So now again, heart rate and respiration is now got to be through the roof. You get startled by a cop. You turn around. You aim down your sights. You take a shot at one of the most famous people in the world, and you graze his ear. The miracle is not that he missed. The miracle is that he got as close as he did in the first place, because with all of those confounding factors, he should not have been in the ballpark of Trump's head. Especially also now another confounding factor, Trump is a very animated speaker. He's constantly moving.
Mm-hmm.
That might be part of his personality, or it might be because people might try to take a shot at me, so I gotta constantly be moving around, jucking and jiving. But yeah, the fact that his ear was hit to me is the most insane thing, because the kid should not have been as close as he did with everything in the confounding variables. But the fact that he hit the ear, and we got what is quite possibly the most badass photo ops since the flag raising on Iwo Jima. And it doesn't even come close. Sorry. Love Trump, hate Trump, neutral towards Trump, it doesn't matter. You have to admit that those photos were on an entirely new level.
No, that photo was so badass it had lefties speculating that the whole thing was staged because it was just too perfect.
Well, it doesn't help when the FBI is saying that Trump didn't get hit by a bullet now or whatever bullshit.
Yeah, they still saying that, oh, he hit glass on the podium and ricocheted to his ear.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no, what?
No, retard.
You really expect me to believe that?
That was in the hearing on the Hill today. It was the head of the FBI put doubts on whether it was a bullet. So
yeah, I gotta love all these left wingers just coming up with the most ridiculous, idiotic conspiracy theories ever, just because they have no experience whatsoever of coming up with conspiracy theories. They spend their whole lives poo-pooing every conspiracy theory they've ever heard, and then all of a sudden they come up with the most idiotic one I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
it's all staged. He aimed for the ear. He missed on purpose. Like, what? Like, dude, go sit with the flat earthers. This is some next level retardation.
Yeah, and so far I've seen 2 gun tubers on YouTube that have recreated the shot and how difficult it would be to stage it. And even they didn't even do like the riding a bike a mile and crawling across a roof. This was like sitting down with a rack grade AR on a bench and shooting at an unmoving stationary target. And it's like, yeah, this can't be done. And then both of them were like, we're going to pull out the most accurate AR that we have, the AR that shoots like dime-sized groups, and we're going to try and recreate this shot with a magnified optic. And even then it's like, no, can't be done.
Yeah, but we're supposed to believe that Donald Trump trusted this 20-year-old dude with a budget AR
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, Trump, he's kind of crazy sometimes, but he's not suicidal. Trump loves himself too much to subject himself to something like that.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Well, we're up on an hour.
I think that's a pretty good show. Got to come back more often, Nathan.
No, I do. It's been one of the most crazy months in all of American history. Like I thought that we were done with this sort of nonsense. After 2020, I'm like, all right, we're due for like a cooling down period when nothing crazy happens. Then boom, debate. Biden looks like a retard. Boom, Trump gets shot at. Boom, Biden drops out. Like, oh my God, can we chill for 5 minutes, please? I dread to think what's going to happen next week. I don't even want to know.
Right. I think that at one point here, we need to set up like a chalkboard. And before the DNC happens, we need to set up like a chalkboard or a whiteboard or something. And we need to, put out the names of the most likely people that they're going to substitute Kamala Harris for, and actually do like a serious deep dive into the pros and cons and the likelihood of them taking over. Because I was thinking we were going to get into that tonight, but we kind of
predict it's got Kamala way up for DNC winner.
Yeah,
she's at 92 cents on. I mean, you got to bet 92 cents to win $1. Next closest is the Hillbot with 4 cents.
Hillary?
Yeah.
What? Who's betting on Hillary?
Trump is at 56 on the dollar. Kamala Harris is at 45 cents on the dollar. So he's
still ahead.
10-point favorite there.
Yep.
No, the The only person that might do worse against Donald Trump is Kamala Harris. The Democrats have completely forgotten how awful she was. Either that or they're just pretending to not know. And they're hoping, they're praying that 2020 Kamala doesn't come out. And they're just hoping that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't come out of the woodwork and just axe her in the face again.
Yes. If you want to talk about a political assassination, that was definitely a good one. I mean, that's why she dropped out before Iowa.
Yeah, because Kamala killed her. Not Kamala, because Tulsi killed her.
Yes. 911, I'd like to report a murder.
I mean, that's the thing. Everything that Tulsi said in that debate was 100% true. And that record hasn't gone away, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that didn't happen. That's all there for Trump just to come out and say the same exact thing.
Yep. If Trump's a smart guy, and I'm not going to pretend to give him any political advice because he was the president. He's probably going to be the president again. And what the hell do I know? I couldn't even win a congressional race in this state. But because of that Tulsi Gabbard, Kamala Harris political axing from 2020, he should get her to do at least one commercial. Like, hey, I'm Tulsi Gabbard. Remember this moment from 2020? It's like, yes, the same shit still applies in 2024. Thank you. And Donald Trump and I approve this message.
How funny would it be had he known this was going to come if he made Tulsi Gabbard his VP candidate?
Ooh.
How hilarious would that have been? I mean, it wouldn't have ever happened, but it would have been the most funny thing to ever happen.
Well, I think that he
should have done that and then demanded that Kamala debate in the VP debate. It's like, who are you? How did you get here? Nobody voted for you. People voted for me. Nobody voted for you. I don't remember you getting any votes. You should debate Tulsi again.
Well, and if the Libertarian Party wasn't such a shit show, we could be looking at an Amash Gabbard ticket right now to take those two on. But no.
Well, that'd be funny. But, the Libertarian Party.
It's like Libertarian Party goes from shooting itself in the foot, shooting itself in the head in one election cycle.
Then blowing their dick off the next one. But, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm gonna go and close it out. Had Token back on. You may know him from the olden days. Thanks for joining us, Nathan.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, when we were social media giants. So anytime you want to come back,
I don't think we were ever giants.
But from myself and everybody here, check out Rosa No. 2 Liberty. Please see if you see some merch you want. Follow us on Rumble if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, go over and like our YouTube because I doubt we'll ever get kicked off Rumble, but just in case. So join us next week. You don't have any special shows coming up, Hobbs?
No, I do not.
Okay, no observations on the horizon. So we'll be here next week and